Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Sorry I haven't posted for a long time. I've just been busy with sessions. But anyway, I wanted to come on here and just do as short as possible of a video on guitar tone. And it's going to be acoustic tone really right now, but it applies to electric guitar as well. But the biggest difference that I've been facing as I get tracks from other people, and even as I've learned over the years from my own tone, is the pick makes a huge difference in tone. And you can either face really tough problems with a pick that affects the tone in a bad way, or you can solve issues using the proper pick. And people wonder why I settled on this green pick, and that is a lot of it is just recording all the time, trying to get something that's consistent and doesn't introduce problems. So yeah, years ago when I was in Nashville, a lot of guys were using this. I don't know if they still do. I know John Foreman, I traded picks with him one time, and he just gave me back the exact same pick I was using. So the same Jim Dunlop Tortex, I think it's a 0.88 mil. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but yeah, this green pick. And what I do is I actually bend my picks. Can you see how I bent it into this weird kind of arc? And I play that with the arc into the strings. It's not like, you know, kind of bent backwards. So I'm not picking the string, you know, like this. I'm picking it so that I hold it like this and it's digging into the string, you know, like that. And the biggest reason I do that is because I curve my finger into the pick like this, and it actually keeps it from rotating. If it's flat, it wants to spin in my hand. Sometimes it wants to fall out, and this just holds it solid so that it doesn't move. And then I have consistency. These strings are not new. They're old dead strings, but I just want to show you the differences in pick tone. So basically, I settled on this for one main reason, and that is because I use a hybrid way of playing. So I use my fingernails and pick. So so you can see I'm using these fingers lots, right? And I wanted a pick that sounded as much like these nails as possible, because I used to play with a thick pick, and it was very, when the pick touched the strings, there was this click when that made contact, and that bright harsh sound, I was fighting with two different tones in the same take, and I was trying to get rid of this pick attack, but then my fingernail attack would get really dull. And so I just wanted something that was more neutral. Also, I wanted something that when I went from strumming, it sounded almost the same. So I didn't have to EQ or do different tracks. I could do one take with both hybrid picking and strumming, and I wouldn't have to deal with a whole mess of issues, right, in post-production. So yeah, settled on this green pick. Now, the cool part about this too is if I want a wiry sound, I can play parallel to the string, right? But if I want a warm, glossy sound, I just turn the pick so it's striking the string at an angle, and then it kind of rolls off the tip of the pick. And especially for picking stuff, it sounds really smooth and warm, right? If I pick it, right? So it sounds a lot glossier. So if I want to warm things up, I just turn the pick so it's hitting it at a less parallel way. And if I want a kind of a wiry sound, then I just strike it more parallel to the strings. So this solves a lot of issues for me in post-production. And I'll play you a little bit of a difference. So this was the pick I used to use. It's a little tiny stubby, But listen to the difference in tone. I don't know if you can hear that kind of crunchy, bright, harsh sound. That's the pick actually, that's that. When the pick touches the string. Can you hear that? It's like a really... Now when you pick with it, it actually sounds nice and warm, almost like the green pick, right? So I liked that part of it, but still, that attack, you still hear that click, right? That creates problems. And so you're dealing with this warm sound, and if you try to EQ it in a mix, it's almost you're trying to overcome the warmness to get a clarity, but then you have this click that's super bright and harsh. And so that's kind of why I went, and switched from this little teardrop pick. Some people prefer like the nylon picks. Yeah. And that's a nice sound. I find for some styles, it's almost kind of a sweeping, more airy sort of pop sort of sound. But if they're too soft, I don't have one right here, I don't think. But if they're too soft, they get really flappy sounding. I don't have one right here at the moment. But yeah, they get really flappy, and you hear the sound of the pick more than you hear the sound of the tone of the guitar. And that might work if you're trying to offset a shaker in a mix, say a shaker's pan one to one side, and you want just that sort of, the sound of the strings just going sh, 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 sh. That works good, and you still have a little bit of that acoustic sound offsetting the shaker. So that does work in those circumstances, but choosing the pick for the job is a big part of the task, right? I got some picks here that you can listen to. Here's a Cutlass pick from the band Cutlass years ago. A lot brighter, right? Here's Johnny Cash's pick. Got this from his sister. Here's what that sounds like. It's like similar. See, that's more like the pick that I use, except it's flat, so it's a little harder to play for me. Here's one from Sun Studios. Almost the same type of pick. Little bit of... but still it has that little bit of a click to it. Here's one from Switchfoot, but it's not the one that John plays. It's these triangle style. Now that has a harsher sound to me. And like I say, John uses this same pick. Okay, here's one. I have a pick collection, so here's one from Paul Overstreet. The harvest is plenty, the workers are few. That's a little zingier, right? But anyways, yeah. And then when I was down in Nashville years ago, the producer there introduced me to some metal picks for picking, especially for a little clearer sound. This one's a tech pick, and it's I think it is stainless, maybe. But you hear it on the... Can you hear that gritty sound? And then this is the pick that producer actually gave me. It's a copper pick. If I actually strum with it, it's pretty... bright, right? But it cuts through a mix. If you have a dense mix and you want your, that top end is on the attack. And so what's really happening with these different picks is it's the attack and the leading edge of the note that's changing a lot of the times. And but I found if you want a more neutral sound, you have to go with something that's kind of a medium pick and not quite as heavy. And yeah, most of all, what I find is the biggest offender are the hardest picks. There's a purple. Here's one. It's a purple, I think it's 2 mil. Yeah, because what's happening is you get a really, that click is so bright when you're adding top end in a mix or even mid highs to get clarity. And yet the body of the note is really muddy. So you've got this mud that you're trying to offset, you're trying to add top end, and yet the attack is so out of control. And so lots of times you have to use a dynamic EQ to offset that or something. Whereas this green pick it's very balanced, and I don't have to wrestle with it. And the other thing is it works for my style of playing for hybrid. Anyways, sorry this got a little longer than I intended, but makes a huge difference. So choose your pick wisely when you're tracking. And like I say, I change the pick for the job. So if I need something that's brighter, sometimes I've used this copper pick, right? Or I've used, if I want a really warm sound for like almost a dark sound that I can get away with a little bit of the attack, I will use this one I used to use, this teardrop, because then I could, then I can keep it warm and not worry about that attack as much. And right, so choose the pick wisely, and you can save yourself a lot of grief in post-production. All right, anyways, God bless you all as usual. Take care. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.